G'day guys, Alfie here. About a week ago, Ben Spildenner and I were having a bit of a play with some game mechanics and having a bit of an explore. And I had a slime block out and I started jumping on it and realised that there was something there with jump heights or drop heights, I guess, and then the subsequent bounce heights on slime blocks. So you can see in the background here, I'm doing a little bit of playing here. I did all this playing in front of the TV, so this is actually post commentary. And I'll edit it down to make some sort of sense with the narration that I'm doing. But I think in this first pass we're going to have a look at just the initial bounce height, as I believe at some point we hit a terminal velocity, and I want to have a closer look at what sort of time and height that happens at. Okay, so here's our first jump, 25 blocks high, and our initial bounce is 13. Here we go with a height of 50. Our initial bounce is 21. It was at this point that I decided that commands were going to be much easier instead of flying up and down each time. So this is a bounce height of 100, and our first bounce is 32. Here we go at a height of 150, and our first bounce 39. Going up in increments of 50, here's 200, where our first bounce is 44. Okay, that was 250 height, and our initial bounce 48. This was 300, and our initial bounce comes out at 50. This takes us up to 350, and this is sort of where my brain starts to go, hang on a minute, my bounce heights aren't actually getting that much bigger, our first bounce being 52. So I sort of started, like I say, I was watching TV, so my brain started processing this, and I just kept going. Here goes 400 with a bounce height of, it takes longer and longer, 53. A height of 450 gets us a bounce height of 54. Okay, dropping from 500 here, our bounce height comes back to 55. And it was at this point where I went, okay, each 50 blocks is adding one block to my bounce height. So I started keeping on going still, but sort of with that in my frame. 550 gave us a bounce of 56. So my hypothesis is getting, pretty good. Here's a drop of 600. And we come back to 56. Okay, things are slowing down again. That's all right. We'll keep trying. So 650 takes us to a bounce height of 57. 700 takes us to a bounce height of 57 as well. So things are definitely starting to slow down. Here's our drop from 750, and we end up at 57 again. So we're starting to sort of hit that peak. We've sort of leveled out in terms of how high we're jumping. So our acceleration is actually sort of, we've almost hit terminal velocity, I think. But since I was just watching TV, we kept going. Here's a bounce height of 58. I saw 58 there. So I'm like, okay, so we're still going up a little bit. So we're up to dropping from 850 blocks high now. And our bounce height comes back to 58, but 58 was actually there longer this time. So I'm like, okay, so we're still going up a little bit. So here we are coming down from 900, and our bounce height, again, 58, but it wasn't a significantly longer 58 than the previous bounce. Okay, dropping from 950, we get a bounce height of 58 again, but again, it's not getting significantly longer, at least visually, it doesn't appear to be. Here's our drop from 1,000, and we bounce to 58 again. So we've sort of already hit terminal velocity, and our biggest bounce height is going to be 58. So I figured now's the time to sort of push the limit. So I've just teleported myself up 2,000, and I'll leave the whole drop in just to give you an idea about how long it takes to drop that far. We're still dropping. So 2,000 blocks high, and we've just passed 1,000. So it does take significant time, but our acceleration now sorry, yeah, now our acceleration has stopped. We are falling at a set rate, is my belief. I'm by no means a physics teacher, and there's that 58 again, and again, it's not there significantly longer. And my final test for this was dropping from 3,000. So at this point I've gone, okay, I believe there's terminal velocity. My next test is going to be around, is there friction, or air resistance? So I'm sort of starting to think about how I can test that as I'm dropping from 3,000 blocks high. And then I'm also going to use this to measure the gravity in Minecraft. I think I can anyway, or measure measure how much gravity, what the force of gravity is in Minecraft. So again, from 3,000 blocks high, when the world finally comes into view, there it is, we get a bounce height of 58 again. So we have definitely hit terminal velocity, and the fastest we can, so the biggest bounce we're ever going to get from a slime block is 58 blocks high, or 2 blocks 58, so it's 57 blocks high. So now I've rigged myself up with some commands to try and help me sort this out, and the command blocks down below are summoning a cow and a sheep to Minecraft, animals that should be, roughly the same. So this is what it looks like when you drop with them, at least to the first point, and you can see that they drop at exactly the same rate. They don't actually fall at different rates. So if air resistance was a thing, in theory, I believe that they would drop at different rates, because in theory a sheep probably may or may not have more, or they would have a different air resistance, or as they fell. So here we go for a second try of that exact same thing, and I'm trying to drop with them at this point in time, and the block couldn't be placed because I'm stupid. I forgot to delete it in the first place. Oops. Silly me. So we'll try that again. But this sort of really got me thinking about, okay, well, do all mobs in Minecraft suffer from the same sort of weight and the same forces, I guess? So even baby sheep there, you can see they fall at exactly the same rate as the cow. So okay, so that's all good. So after testing that a couple of times, I decided we'll change the mobs. We'll try a rabbit and a llama. So we're going to change both command blocks to bring in a rabbit and a llama, and we'll see what happens there, because these have significantly different surface areas, so therefore they should, in theory, drop at very different rates, because they have a very different air resistance attached to them. So if we set them to spawn, you can see them coming down, and again they're coming down at identical speeds. So my guess here is there is no air resistance in Minecraft at this point. So now I'm exploring the difference between the player and mobs, and you can see there's a difference here. It teleported me and summoned the llama at exactly the same time, and my bounce is different to the llama's, or at least it appears so. So what does that mean? So I decided I'd try the same thing by summoning a rabbit beside me, and you can see that my drop rate is slightly faster and I bounce slightly higher than the rabbit. So there's something going on. So I'm going to try and keep doing some more experiments to work out what that actually means, because it means, I think, that the player has less air resistance than other mobs, I think, in hindsight now. So now we're going to summon a cow at the same time as teleporting me, just to see, and it's roughly the same sort of experience. I bounce quicker, or I fall quicker than the cow does. So I'm like, okay, what's next? So I started thinking, is it to do with shape? So I'm going to grab the villager, and you can see that the same basic thing happens. I fall quicker and I bounce, from my perspective, I bounce higher than the villager. So I'm very confused right now about what this all means. So I just keep testing. And it's at this point where I just started being a little bit silly. So this is me summoning an Elder Guardian and trying to work out what's going on. And holy cow, there is a huge difference here. So the Elder Guardian falls significantly slower than me and bounces significantly higher. So I'm thinking, okay, water-based mob. Let's try that again. So here's the second spawn of that. And we can see that it's significant. I fall significantly faster and he bounces significantly higher than me. So, okay, so let's keep going. Let's see what else we can find. So this is me testing against a guardian, not an elder guardian this time, just a guardian, to see if it's the same sort of thing. Thinking, okay, so, and you can see that it's fairly similar between the guardian and the elder guardian versus me. I fall much quicker, but they bounce significantly higher. So just to confirm that it's specific to the guardian, or the elder guardian and the guardian, I'm going to summon both at the same time and see what happens. And we come back with they both fall at the same rate and they both appear to bounce to the same height. So now I'm trying to figure out if it's all water-based mobs that have this behavior or not. So no dolphins were harmed in the making of this, but this time it's summoned Dolphin versus summoned Guardian. So we'll see what happens here. And you can see that the Dolphin falls faster and bounces less than the Guardian. So the Dolphin behaves like other mobs, not just water mobs. So it's not just water mobs. And I said no dolphins were harmed. And just to confirm that the Dolphin behaves the same as the others, I've changed instead of a guardian, it's now a cow. So this is confirming that dolphins behave like other mobs do, and you can see that they fall at the same rate and bounce the same height. So it appears that guardians and elder guardians have a special attribute or behavior that impacts on their rate of descent and rate of bounce or size of bounce. Remember, no dolphins were harmed in the making of this video. So that pretty much wraps us up for this video. There's a lot of thinking I need to do and a lot of stuff I need to do, but I'm trying to work out how we could use this kind of experimentation to get kids to explore the physics of Minecraft and relate it to real world physics. Because way back when I did the gravity lab, and that is probably 9/10 remade and ready to go, but I'd like to include the option for exploring stuff like this, because I think this has definitely a place to be in that spot of exploring the physics of Minecraft and working out why they're accurate, or where they're accurate and where they're not, and what impact that has on the behaviors in the game. And this isn't in terms of, blocks not falling or stuff like that. This is in terms of things like items versus blocks versus mobs falling and stuff like that. So I find this really interesting, and I'm by no means a physics teacher. So if you are a physics teacher and you can explain what's going on or how we could sort of talk to kids about this, please reach out, because I'd love to collaborate with someone who has way more knowledge than I do on this. But thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.